Hey guys, Ronan Will. So this is day 2 or week 2, I guess, of the year of actually posting. So I figured I would start by painting some models that actually have to be painted, that have been needing to be painted for a long time. We're going to paint. That's some rough lighting. I'm going to paint this little guy here. He's actually part of a full set. I have all of the other guys right over here. There's a lot of them. They're all the same. But we're going to paint these guys for Super Dungeon Explorer. Basically, I'll be painting this one. And yeah, as we go, I'll paint the rest. So, yeah, we'll start with him. I have my wet palette right here. You don't need a wet palette. I got one and I've been using it lately when I paint models. Of course, you're going to want at least a couple of paint brushes. All of my stuff is Army Painter with the exception of my water here, which is Citadel Paints. And there was something else that's from, the holder is also Citadel. Everything else I use is Army Painter. I just kind of like them better. So here's a quick just look at my paint collection. Anything with a white cap is regular paint. Red caps are washes. Black caps are metallics. So for this guy, and I haven't painted in a while, so I might be messing up a little bit. I'm going to start with a little bit of, you know what, I was looking at their character art, and they're like earth turtles, so they're not really like, turtle color. I think I might go with a nice ultra blue to start out. So the one thing you have to remember with any of these paints, of course, is shake them up. I don't actually water down my paints. A lot of people do. Just a preference of mine. You can do how you like. Like I said, I prefer my Citadel paints a little bit thicker, less coats. So I'm gonna start by painting the skin tone on these guys. And you're just kind of going to start with a simple coating. I'm going to try my best to avoid their eyes and basically anything that's not going to be, not be their skin tone.
7 hours later.
Basically, all I want to do is block in the sections of the model that are going to be getting this, whatchamacallit, the desert yellow. I'm switching over to a, what is this? This is demonic yellow. Demonic. I can't read today either, guys. From a distance, anyway. Demonic yellow. It's literally their yellow. So yellow, I find, is one of the hardest colors to get to stay where you put it, because it tends to get absorbed into whatever other surrounding colors there are. So I'm going to okay. So next is going to be his little claws, the bomb, and then from there I'm going to touch up the mouth and the eyes, and then we'll be ready to dark tone him. If you're wondering about the base, I will do the base, but the base is usually the very last thing I do, because it has a habit of taking any paint that you happen to accidentally put onto it and just run with it. What was I doing? Before I go there, I want to do the little fuse on the bomb. So I am going to look for my... I have actually a default rope quote unquote. It's not rope.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
All right, sorry about that, guys. We got stuck. I got sidetracked. Yes. So we are going with the skeleton bone for not only the fuse at the top of the model, but also his claws on his hands and his feet. This is going to be some Starfire red. I'm going to switch and do a little bit of metal. Oops, I'm touching the camera now. So I think I'm going to go with this rough iron. This is one of the newest paints that I've gotten from them. So this is a metallic paint. Basically, metallic paints, well, they look like metals. They save you time mixing different paints to get that metallic effect. Yeah. So that's about it for the base coating. I'm going to do the little wick up here, and I might do some white on the skull. But for the most part, that is all you need to do for a base coat.
Well, we're waiting.
Kind of like the idea of this bomb being super cartoony with the color explosive fuse on it. I might darken that later, but there we go. So now I'm just going to wait a few minutes. You basically want to make sure that all the paint that you just put on is completely dry. And once you do that, you're going to then start getting into the dark toners.
A few moments later.
Get one of your bigger brushes. This is Laura Cornell. This is just kind of a generic brush you can get at Walmart, Target, anything like that. You're going to take this dark toner and watch what happens when you go to paint. So you see how it bleeds, it runs, it's not very thick. You're basically, what you want to do is you take it and you're going to want to dip it into all these crevices and anywhere that I'm lazy. I do it the simple method, which is you just kind of do the whole model. And yeah, so the next step will be to do highlighting. When we come back, well, it will only be a couple of seconds for you guys, but it will probably be almost an hour, maybe 2 hours for me. But when I come back, I will be doing highlights and finishing up the basics on painting them. All right, guys, see you soon.
Day 2.
Hey guys, so as you can tell, it's actually the next morning. It took a really long time for my dark toner to finish drying, but in the meantime, you can see I prepped all these guys. We got them just base toned and dark toned. So next step we're going to do is we're going to be doing highlights and adjusting the coloring on them so we can actually finish the model. Alright guys, so we're going to start with just the base color again. Why does that look purple? Why? Okay. That is definitely purple. Hold on guys. For some reason, this is the one I used, but it gave me purple. Unless there was purple just sitting here and I didn't realize it. Like, that was weird. Unless I stupidly grabbed the purple, which I shouldn't have because it's not in my group on the side here. Anyway, so I'm going to use my Psycho brush now for starting to do some detailing on the models. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going over the raised portions of the model with the base coat, the base tone that I used. You're trying to avoid any real like indents or spots that like in between the two muscles here. You don't want to do unnecessary, you don't want to undo what you just did with the dark tone. Alright, now that we've got the base tone touched up just a bit, I don't go too crazy with the base tone, especially again on cartoony guys. I'm going to start mixing a little bit of paints. I'm going to take some deep blue and mix it with the ultramarine, blah, 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 blue, and we're going to start using that as a highlight coat for parts on the body. To keep it simple, I usually imagine that the light is at high noon, so basically there's a bright light coming straight down on top of the model. So on the side here, I'm just mixing the two paints. It looks alright, I guess. It's really hard, like, you really have to start mixing paints and playing with the colors to figure out what ones you want. But, let's see. So, what I'm going to do is mostly do the stuff that's going to have the sunlight, the quote-unquote sunlight hitting it. So like here, storm. Sorry about the shaking, but there's a pain in the ass who refuses not to stop. It's gonna have on the top of his eyebrows here, a little bit on the back of the head. And even though you can't really see it that well yet, I'm going to do another highlight coat after this to basically bring out all of those bright blue colors that we're adding here. Which kind of makes sense. You also have to keep in mind what type of material you want them to look like. Like, these guys are going to be kind of slimy, kind of scaly, so they're going to have some brightness to them. So that's going to be his blue skin. I'm probably not going to do too much more with it. In fact, I probably will just leave the blue skin at that point. So we're going to quickly move on to the yellow belly that he has. This one doesn't really need too much coloring. Again, it's just base yellow. I'm probably not even going to bother highlighting because it's so covered up by his body. Like, you have this little spot here. You have the little shoulder, well, not even shoulder, the chest pieces here and here. A little tiny, wow. Even the Psycho brush feels like it's so big for this detail section. But you put it there, and then on his side. But as you can see, he really doesn't have too much of it exposed, so I'm probably not going to do another highlight on top of that. But with that little bit of yellow, it contrasts that blue so nicely. Next, we're going to move on quickly to the shell, which was our desert yellow. So same process as before. We take some desert yellow. I'm going to move up a size on my brushes to, I would prefer my Psycho brush, but I would prefer my Insane Detail brush, but the one Insane Detail brush is a little seen better days, so I'm going to go with the regular detail brush. And this is only going to be for the big stones on his back and maybe on his head. So for the highlight tone for that, I'm going to add some of our skeleton bone that we used for the claws to the desert yellow. And again, just going to mix it in real quick. We'll give you a slightly lighter color, and that's what you're going to use to do some highlighting. And yeah, I like that color actually. It's definitely better than when I mix the two blues. I think I should have used a slightly lighter blue, but you don't want to go too light because then you get an extreme opposite, which is it doesn't look natural, or it doesn't look realistically feasible to do that.
12 seconds later.
sections. So now I'm going to touch up the claws here. If I can remember to keep him on camera, that would be great. If I was going to be going crazy, I'd actually I'd do maybe some dry brushing on the fuse and reflecting off the body. I'm not going to, because again, these guys are only minions. It's not like they've got a lot of necessary detailing. So let's see, where are we left? Oh, would help if I finished or it would help if I painted the mouth. So inside the mouth, he had his mouth and tongue. That I'm just going to do some different reds. I'll use the same starter fire red for the tongue. This is where you have to be like very careful, because trying to avoid having to repaint stuff is my #1 goal here. You can see he's got kind of a red tongue. It's honestly, I can't even tell, because the video that I'm looking at to make sure that you can see it is very tiny. So I'm assuming you guys could see that.
Well, the thing about that is...
Now I'm switching over to white, hopefully. And I'm just going to touch up the bomb and the eyes. Skeleton skull painted. Let's give him some eyes. Alright, so we're going to take some of the black. I'm just going to give him very simple eyes. These aren't the humanoid main character guys, so I'm going to just give them kind of like little black beady eyes. And again, very simple. You just kind of go in, and I'm going to pick right here. Come on. Right here. And then we want one on the other side, because that would be weird if it wasn't. There we go. Again, nice and simple. Once we start doing some of the other guys, there'll be a lot. Here, is that better? Can you actually see that? I can't tell. Hopefully you guys can see that. But once we do some of the heroes or characters that have that anime style eye, you'll be able to tell real easily. And that's honestly what makes a main character so much fun to paint, is those eyes. So the last thing I'm going to do, as I was saying, I'm going to dry brush a little bit of white onto the bomb. So it's going to have this nice little reflective spot up top there. As far as the fuse, I kind of like how the dark toner weathered the fuse top. So that's going to stay like that. And then, of course, the very last thing we're supposed to do, but I'm going to probably show that, maybe I'll do it now. I'm going to take this guy off the stand because, obviously, we need to paint his base. So I'm going to look for a way to secure this because I want to paint, obviously, the edges of the base as well as the top. I'm going to take some gray here. Where is my gray? There is my gray. This is my gray. It is called ash gray. I actually they have like 5 different grays. This is the one that I tend to use the most. And we're going to paint the little thing he's standing on, that gray flagstone-esque thing.
Eternity later.
Hey guys, Ronan Will. So I realized I never finished showing the final product, or the final paint job of this guy. But this is the turtle. He is basically all finished. I mean, he's varnished and everything. For the varnish, I have Army Painter. I used some anti-sheen varnish and some regular varnish. As you can see, I haven't actually finished these guys. But I did start a new character, which will be next week's episode. So, thanks for watching, guys. Till next week, Ronan Will. Have a good one. Bye.
Disappointed.